Hello and welcome to Homicide Hobbies. I'm Andy,
And I'm Claire.
and we're here to talk about some of the disturbing things that go on in the world, past and present. We feel like not knowing doesn't mean the crazy doesn't exist.
So we're going to scar you with the knowing.
Enjoy.
So what do you got for us today, Claire?
So today we're headed to the state that roughly 60% of the U.S. paper money is printed. Any ideas?
Tennessee? Kentucky?
Texas.
Really?
I was surprised.
Huh.
I was figuring D.C. where...
Well, I would have thought, where's Fort Knox?
Kentucky.
I knew it was over there somewhere. I would have thought over there somewhere. But not Texas. Man, everything is bigger in Texas.
Even the production of money.
Yep.
Well, it wouldn't have been my first guess, or my second or third.
Me neither. And I just proved it.
Well, we're headed to Texas again, because there's so much shit that happens in Texas.
Because they do everything bigger.
All right. We're headed in the 90s.
Uh-oh. You said 90s, not a specific time frame, so it's going to be...
1990.
Oh.
Anyway, so I'm going to introduce you to 31-year-old Patricia Griffin.
Wait. Do I need a pen and paper?
Only if you're having a focusing problem. So I'm going to
I don't
introduce
think
you...
I'm having a focusing problem.
I would say you are.
All right, I'll stop.
So I'm going to introduce you to 31-year-old Patricia Griffin, who has been separated from her husband, Raymond Griffin Sr., for about 2 years, and he lives in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So Patricia is in Texas. He's in South Carolina.
I would definitely say that is separated.
Yes. Well, Patty has herself a 22-year-old boyfriend named Anthony Darron Jimerson.
Go Patty.
Now, Patty also lives in Texas with her 2 boys, 2-year-old Rashad and 5-year-old Raymond Tinky Griffin II.
Wait, what? Is that a nickname? Please tell me Tinky.
Yeah, it's a nickname.
Okay.
They call him Tinky. I don't know where
Why?
Tinky originated from. I don't know.
I'm going to say he liked to tinkle everywhere.
Maybe he was one of those kids that peed on somebody's face when they were...
Maybe because when he had a stinky diaper, he called it Tinky. I'm Tinky.
Maybe.
Because you know how they can't pronounce their S's when they're little? My oldest used to walk around and he'd pat the front of his diaper and he'd be like, Tinky, Tinky.
I like how in distress that...
It was, too.
I'm Tinky.
If I didn't drop what I was doing and change his diaper immediately, he would just take it off.
Himself.
He did. He would just drop it and run. And then it became this little game. And not to sound weird, but after my kids, after I'd give the older 2 a bath, because they were my only 2 at the time, and we'd have what was called naked time, where they just ran around naked for a minute and they air dried after their bath.
That would be hazardous in my house with all the dogs.
Yeah, I didn't have dogs then.
But he's Raymond Griffin II, his dad, or he was named after his dad. But my thoughts are, I think Patty had cheated, and that's what the separation was due, because if they were separated nearly 2 years and she's got a 2-year-old...
that doesn't mean much.
Well, that's my theory going forward.
They could have boinked each other and then separated.
But we've got Raymond Griffin II and then Rashad.
So?
I'm just going to put that one in. I assume that this baby's got a different paw.
She put one in too.
Anyway... On the night of February 23rd, 1990, Tony and Patty head to a small party in their apartments. Now, Tinky and Rashad, they would be there too. And there would be about 6 other adults and 5 other kids. Now, everyone's having a great time, enjoying cutting loose. Obviously, there's some drinking going on. Beer, some people were drinking bourbon, liquor, all the things that you would expect from a community barbecue social gathering thing, which hawks up to the more the liquor flows, the more the laughter, and pretty much unmonitored children running around. Now, at some point, Rashad would conk out, as 2-year-olds will do when they've tore off everywhere. And Tony, I guess, would be he really wants some quiet time with the missus. And he would give 5-year-old Tinky a light beer at some point that evening, hoping the boy would get drowsy a little bit quicker so he could have that alone time with his lady.
Yeah, so fellers, you don't get the babies drunk so that you can boink their maw. That's
He
not a
just
thing.
gave him a light beer. It's practically water.
I was just going to say, it's just like water.
Now, several party goers would later recall seeing Tinky sneaking sips of beers and other mixed drinks from all the other people at the party, which I was
Okay.
like, what the fuck?
So that's a bunch of idiot adults that were probably feeding it to the kid. Like he drank they probably saw him take a sip of the beer. He made some silly, like, little kid
Yeah.
reaction of like, ugh. Remember when we gave my oldest a pickle?
Yeah.
And thought his reaction was hilarious, and then you squeezed the pickle into his mouth and it like,
Yes, but it wasn't a liquored up pickle.
I understand that, but the reaction, how it was funny, so you kept doing it and I was videotaping it. I'm gonna guess that was the same reaction with the alcohol of, well, come try this one, and then they fed him a sip. I don't believe that kid walked around, either that or he was desperately thirsty and all these fuckers just laughed because this poor baby's walking around getting shit-faced because he needs a baba.
So he's 5.
Oh, I thought it was a 2-year-old.
The 2-year-old is the one that
he
conked
crashed. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's drunk too.
It could be, actually. I don't know, but no, I don't think so. He ran around and then conked out like a good boy, and then Tinky was just running around. So I figured it as people set their drinks down, went to go do something, turn around, and then kind of make eyes at him as he's setting it down, and he's got like a smirk kind of thing. And it's just only after the party does it like, oh, you saw him drink it too? I saw him drink one out of this one. And kind of one of those pieced together. So everybody's not aware that Tinky has had now a light beer and sipping everybody else's mixed drinks. Now, Tony, realizing that the beer is not making Tinky tired, decides to double down and handed him a bottle of bourbon with roughly 6 to 10 ounces in it and told him to drink it like a man. And Tinky would do as he was told.
No.
I say 6 to 10 ounces because the amount varies on who you ask at the party of how much was in it. But even if it was 6, that's 6 ounces. That's 6 shots of bourbon for a 5-year-old.
There's enough adults that have trouble swigging down straight alcohol.
Yeah.
I don't see a 5-year-old being able to chug 6 to 10 ounces of liquor.
Right. I don't know. I would also assume some of it would add poured down his little face. Regardless, the bourbon disappears. The party winds down. Everybody goes home. But by 3 a.m., Tinky starts barfing and shaking.
Yeah.
Later determined
Alcohol poisoning?
to be seizures. His mom just assumes he's real sick. So she just tucks him on in.
She's an idiot.
Fast forward to 2:30 in the afternoon the next day.
What?
Tinky's mom finally called the ambulance because Tinky's still not acting right.
Is it because he died of alcohol poisoning and she's just trying to prop up his tiny little body? This is disgusting. You know, I need my trigger warnings when they're kids, you fucker.
Why? We lose this reaction.
And you can't see me, but my arms are crossed. I am very angry with you.
Now, Tinky had not been taken to the hospital until 16 hours after he had drank all that liquor. Now, as a result, he has now suffered irreversible brain damage because, like I told you, at 2:30, when he was doing his shaking, he was having seizures that who knows how many he had when his mom decided to go lay down. And I don't know how much Tony and Patty had to drink, that maybe they both passed the fuck out, and then poor Tinky is just left.
Poor baby.
I don't know what time they wake up the next morning, but I would assume they're not early risers. So the way I figured it, it probably wasn't until like 10, 11 o'clock the next morning after they're just hoping he'll sleep it off.
What pieces of shit?
But regardless, it's 16 hours after is when he goes to the hospital.
Where's the 2-year-old?
Well, the 2-year-old's fine, so he's not really...
Yeah, but that means that 2-year-old was like unsupervised while they're still
probably so.
Passed out, drunk, with a soggy diaper on.
Probably didn't have a diaper. There's probably turds all over the place in that.
And maybe that's why Tinky had the name Tinky. He would just take his diaper off because his ma wouldn't get her lazy ass out of bed and take care of her kid.
Yeah. Now, Tinky would be put on life support. After 5 days, then they would decide to take him off life support because he's just... what's the damage is done. There's no coming back from this. They could leave him on life support indefinitely, but he's not recovering. When they do take him off, it takes 12 hours for him to pass away.
Oh my gosh.
Which I was like, I don't know what the average is, so don't ask. But that seems like a real long time that when you're taking off life support.
Yeah, so when they took mine off of life support, it took him 4 minutes before they pronounced him. So that's 12
A long
hours.
time.
That is a long time.
Because you figure you got to have somebody, I mean, just sitting there. Like, you don't, I wouldn't expect it to be 12 hours.
No, that's...
I expect it to be like in Steel Magnolias and then they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what it was for mine. That's 12 hours, though. He was a little fighter.
Yeah.
Poor baby. He's sick. You're a sick son of a bitch.
After Tinky's death, Rashad would be removed from Patricia's custody, and Tony would be arrested for first-degree felony charges of injury to a child. His bail would be set at $100,000 that he could not make, so he would stay in jail, and he would be facing up to a life sentence.
She didn't get charges?
Hold your horses. Now, he would sit in jail until his day in court. Then, 1 week after Tinky's death, his mother, Patricia, would be charged with not seeking medical treatment for her boy.
How about child endangerment, cruelty to a child neglect? Pick your list of them. She's guilty of all.
Now, she was jailed and given a $10,000 bond, to which she would post, because you only have to come up with like 10%, so that was a lot less.
Yeah, $1,000.
Yeah. So she'd post bond and then await her trial.
Where'd Rashad go?
I just told you. Rashad was pulled from her custody.
Yeah, I know, but...
So Rashad goes to the grandmother's, or Trisha's mom's.
Oh, okay. Because I know you mentioned possibly a paternity issue. So I was just curious. Did he go to foster care? Did he go to a family member? Did he go to South Carolina?
So I was telling you that one because at no point does ex-husband in South Carolina get Rashad. So I assume that that's not his boy.
Is it possible he's a piece of garbage as well? And he's just not interested in being a Paul? He's had a taste of the single life?
So it's possible. Let me finish telling the story and then I'll tell you why my suspicions are that it's still not his boy. And it's why things play out the way that they do. So Rashad goes to live with his grandmother and she doesn't have custody of her boy, and obviously Tinky's dead. So she's childless, waiting trial. Now, before any trial could get underway, Patty would give birth to a daughter in October. And if you're not good at the math, that means she was pregnant the night Tinky was drinking.
And she was drinking?
Mm-hmm.
Is that baby born with fetal alcohol syndrome?
Close. Her daughter would be born addicted to cocaine and would be removed from her custody immediately and sent to a foster home.
Good Lord.
Now, she would be allowed to visit her children unsupervised.
What?
Or, I'm sorry, under supervision. Oh. I misread my notes. Now, poor Raymond, Tinky's dad, would be kept in the dark about everything that happened to Tinky, and he wouldn't find out about what happens until at the trial because evidently people didn't want to upset him.
Oh, so let him be surprised in a public arena.
Right.
That sounds brilliant.
Raymond would make the 27-hour drive to go sit at the trial for Anthony. Now, he would drive with his mom, sister, and a cousin to make the trip, because I would imagine they just want to drive there, so it's like a rotation.
Right.
And mind you, they're being tried separately, because, I mean, it wasn't something they did together necessarily. Like, it wasn't a planned thing. But anyway, so he would drive back for both trials.
Damn.
Right. I can't even imagine that one. But now, people who attended the party would testify. One feller said that he saw a full pint of liquor sitting on the kitchen stove that he would later realize Tinky was drinking from before Tony would even tell Tinky to drink like a man.
Okay, and that party goer also should have caught some child endangerment charges, or, I don't know, just being an idiot, because...
Contributing to the delinquency of a minor?
Is that even a thing? He's like barely a minor. He's a freaking infant.
Like, it's a break in the law to provide booze to a minor anyway, but by not doing anything, I'm surprised nobody at the party ever went to his mother and goes, hey, you know your boy has been drinking over here.
Seeing as how she's a cokehead while pregnant, I'm going to say she wasn't the greatest of mothers, and your standards for her level of, oh, let's keep my kid safe, are way too high for what this lady was capable of actually doing. I hope she went to jail for a real long time.
Now, other party goers would say that they saw him take sips of beer or other people's mixed drinks as they go, which I personally did like a, ugh. Everybody's watching this kid go licking everybody's glass.
And not to be the cootie freak here,
We're booger pickers.
but little kids backwash.
And you know if he didn't like it, it got spit right back in there.
Ugh.
But nearly everyone at the party would say they saw Tony urge Tinky to drink like a man while seeing him hand the liquor bottle to Tinky. So that's undisputed.
Did he try to argue it?
No.
Oh.
Now, after deliberating for 3.5 hours, the jury would find Anthony guilty. The prosecution would seek for a 25 to 50-year sentence. But the jury felt that he deserved a second chance, being as Tinky's death lacked malice, and they would sentence him to instead 10 years of probation.
Ew. What the hell's wrong with that jury? A little kid is dead because of this guy.
But so
he was too busy worrying about where he's going to stick his penis, and nobody can convince me that this wasn't a group of bunch of thugs and pieces of garbage. They were sitting there feeding this kid, hey, come try this. And then when the kid has its little squished up face reaction, somebody else is like, no, come try mine. And they're just laughing, and this kid is like the big joke of the party. No, you're never going to convince me that that's not how that went down.
Well, so you're probably going to squeal at this one.
Oh, great.
Because I initially had the same thought that you did of, what the fuck? He's responsible for a boy being dead. And then my gears shifted to, where the fuck has his mother been this entire time? And 2, we don't know that he would have died had he been brought for medical attention not 16 hours later. So it's just like, is Tinky's death really on him entirely? I realize he had him drink liquor, but he's also a stupid 22-year-old. He's a dumbass. I don't think there was malice. I do agree with the jury. And then I also understand that if he hasn't done anything else in his life, he made one very stupid mistake, being young and stupid, that contributed to his death. I wouldn't say it entirely was caused, because the mother, where was she? If she would have been watching her boy, it wouldn't have happened. But to not get him medical treatment when he was clearly having some sort of an issue, she just went to bed.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I think she needs to spend forever and a day in jail, but I don't think he deserves a free pass. It's a child. It's not like it was a grown adult that he figured would sleep it off. It was a child.
But it was the question of, was there malice? And there wasn't, so he got a lighter sentence.
He didn't even get a sentence. He got put in time. He didn't even get a timeout.
Well, he said,
I don't care. I don't care.
He did get sent, he
care.
sat in jail
Nope.
waiting trial, so it's kind of
Nope.
time served.
Nope. He did not get sentenced to shit. He didn't even get a timeout. He had a nap. That's it.
You're going to be real upset at this one then.
Great.
Because Tinky's dad would be satisfied with the jury's decision and hoped that Tony learned from this tragedy. And that threw me too, because I guess he's a bigger man for it.
No, he doesn't have to pay child support now. Okay, got it.
Yeah, but I was like, I'm surprised that he just hoped somebody learn from it. Did you forget that your firstborn boy is dead? But 3 short months later, Patricia's trial would be underway. Now, her attorney would say that she was a good mom, just had a run of very bad luck, to which I rolled at.
I'm sorry. I must have misheard that.
Bad luck that her boy drank alcohol and died because she didn't get him medical attention, or how about that her kid was born with a cocaine problem.
She's just got real bad luck. It's not her fault that her face fell in the pile of cocaine.
Yeah. Now, she would use the excuse of not knowing that Tinky had any alcohol at the party until noon the next day.
Lies.
Well, it still doesn't matter, because I was like, okay, so 2 a.m. he's barfing and has like weird shakes. Let's pretend she can't recognize a seizure because she's fucking stupid.
Or the smell of the alcohol in his vomit.
Well, we don't know how drunk and drugged up she was, so she could have just gone and lied down. But she claims she didn't know until noon the next day that he had a lot of booze to drink. She still doesn't call an ambulance until 2:30. Now, that's when she realizes he was real sick. But she said she was afraid if she called an ambulance, they'd take her kids away. And I was doing the whole, and they need to be.
Yeah. And if he dies, what the hell does she think is going to happen? That's called a forever takeaway.
Well, her ex-husband would say that, quote, whatever the outcome, she has to carry it with her for the rest of her life.
He's a genius himself.
You ready for her sentence?
What?
Patricia would be acquitted.
What? How is that? You know what it is? They're going to say she woke up late because she was pregnant. Because it has nothing to do with his case, they probably weren't able to mention the fact that the baby was born with cocaine.
They weren't, yeah. They couldn't.
And therefore, she was able to get away with the whole, she was exhausted from being pregnant. And
that she stayed up late.
She woke up late. And then she thought he was just sick. And when it seemed off, then she found out he had alcohol and she called him.
Yep.
Great. That's great. And does this piece of she needs to have, I think that all of these people need to be sterilized.
Now, it did also have me frustrated because...
Did it? Because you don't sound squirrely.
No, I'm just... Because let's think that, okay, maybe she didn't hear her boyfriend...
I could hear you smiling, by the way.
That's because it's so funny.
Sick son of a bitch.
But she... Let's pretend like she didn't hear her boyfriend tell her kid to drink a bottle of booze. Mind you, everybody else at the party did. Where the fuck was she? But how is it that if all these other people saw Tinky drinking throughout the entire night, that his mother didn't notice? Or how about that not one person was like, hey, your boy's over there taking sips of my drink and there's boogers all over it? I don't understand, and I don't buy into the fact that she wasn't aware of any of it, but everyone else in the party was, and everybody else managed to notice her boy. So I don't even understand how some level of neglect wasn't thrown out there.
How is she acquitted?
But
what was her original charge? Like some sort of stupid ass endangerment?
Delay in medical treatment.
That has to be what it was. They used the fact that she was hormonal and sleepy, that she woke up late and then called an ambulance as soon as she realized it wasn't like that has to be the only way they acquitted her. Because there was
But I don't understand, because she claims she didn't know the next day, but that she even if she knew he drank or didn't drink, the fact that she couldn't get any sort of response out of him and he was vomiting and shaking at 3 a.m., that was an emergency too. But not nearly 12 hours after that would be when an ambulance was called.
But she's just an innocent little lady. She didn't know that a seizure. She thought maybe he was cold and just tucked him in.
But even when she's gonna... And even then, she wasn't so much concerned about his well-being than she was the consequences that would come back on her. And that's removing the whole worry for poor Tinky at all. She's worried about herself. That's it.
That's it.
And not only that, she claims she wasn't aware Tinky drank alcohol until noon the next day. But again,
she's a liar.
Even if that's true, she waited until almost 3 o'clock to call an ambulance.
So not a single person could put her in the room aware that Tinky was drinking, which, by the way, saying Tinky was drinking, I feel like it's a friggin' Dr. Seuss book.
Oh. Well,
Tinky was drinking and winking.
I was surprised at both of their sentences. Now, just an update. Patricia would not get cocaine-addicted baby Rachel back from foster home.
Good. I'm sure she just cranked out another.
But instead, Rachel would later be adopted out, which makes her an extremely lucky girl because she dodged that one.
Yes, she did.
But you're spot on with Patty would crank out another baby, another girl.
Just one?
Now, Patty's mom would raise Rashad until he's 14 and then send him back to his mother. My thoughts are...
He's a handful?
Yeah, he's 14. She's already got the girl... or her daughter, so why not let them grow up together? And Patty's mom's getting up in age anyway, so she doesn't want to be keeping tabs on a 14-year-old, so she sends him back over to live with his mother. Patty would become disabled in 1999, and claim that she just sits in her den and looks at Tinky's picture.
If only she could have kept an eye on him like that when he was alive. She's an idiot.
She also claims she goes out to the cemetery as often as she can. And I can just tell you, I don't think she goes out there at all.
Probably not.
It seems like an easy question to answer of, I go out there on his birthday, the anniversary of his death, whatever your thing is of how often she goes out there. That's the answer I would give if somebody asked me how often I scrubbed my walls. As often as I get a chance, which is none!
Yeah. Note to self, don't touch Claire's walls.
I did actually wash them this morning, but I was like, I couldn't tell you. I think the last time I wiped down all the walls was before we painted. I don't have that kind of time.
That lady she's a piece of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And she's disgusting. You know what it is she can just sit there and stare at a picture. She had to actually watch the children.
Yeah. What a time to be there for your boy.
After he's dead?
Now, this little side note. So, Rashad would go on to commit aggravated robbery at the age of 21.
I stand by at 14, he was a handful.
Yeah. Now, Patty would think it's a result of the trauma of having his big brother die, which I rolled at hardcore because he was 2. What trauma when he was 2? I was like, you don't go on nearly 20 years later to commit aggravated robbery because you're upset that your brother died. How about because your mom's a piece of shit coke whore?
Yeah. And your dad didn't want you?
Yeah. But that's where I also felt that Rashad was not Raymond's, because never at any point would Raymond step in. So I think that was the only boy Patricia had with him. But the way she cranks out kids, I'm surprised she didn't have prostitution charges, because I'd be willing to bet none of her children have the same paw.
She got around. Okay, not to poke holes in your theory here, okay? Uh-huh. I don't know how they do it in Texas. I ain't from Texas. However, my husband has children with someone else. Now, that someone else was going through criminal custody proceedings with her new man and their kids they have together. Does that make sense? His ex moved on with another dude. They cranked out a couple kids. A few years later, separated, and then some accusations made by her. They subpoenaed my husband to go to their court proceedings. He didn't have to testify, but he had to be there as a witness of what has been transpiring in the household where his child was living. So it's entirely possible that Raymond was subpoenaed to be there because it involved his child or children. And he really didn't want custody, but because he was subpoenaed to be there, he had to be there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I know, like, when Jason was subpoenaed, we had to drive down to Virginia Beach for that garbage, which, for those that aren't familiar, that is like a 3.5 hour drive. And we had to be there at 9:00 in the morning.
So the only reason I didn't figure Rashad was his is I would figure if your boy died and it would make you cling to the other one.
Yeah, but he didn't seem like he gave a shit anyway, because it's not like he had any sort of visitation. He didn't even make an effort.
Right, but I feel like death makes people reassess things, and I feel like if Rashad was his, I don't know.
You can't see me, but I'm raising my hand. You would think death would make you reevaluate, but proof is in the pudding here of his mom was pregnant and still chose to go do drugs and still drink alcohol and lose her child.
Yeah, but she's a special pile of garbage.
Okay, but as we've seen before, special piles of garbage seem to attract other piles of garbage. I'm going to say that there's a very real chance that Raymond is just a slacker piece of shit dad who just doesn't give a shit. And I'm sorry if he's not, but he's roped in with the rest of them. He's no better. Because if she was truly a piece of garbage, why did he have no sort of visitation? Why did he allow so much time to go?
Because he already started his life over afresh.
Right. And now his kid is dead. And I don't like these cases.
So an update on Tony. I'm sad to say that he would die at the age of 39 in 2007.
Of a drug overdose?
I don't know what he died of because he died in the hospital. Now, as much as I tried to hunt, the only thing I could find in the area was like the day prior to his death, there was a shooting. But I don't know if that was him or if it wasn't. It just, nothing says how he died. But 39 seems rather early for so I don't know what tragedy befell him. But he does separate from Patty there, and seems to make a turnaround. I don't know if it was sitting in jail until his trial or the fact that he was given a huge pass on making a really fucking stupid decision. But he does seem to go on and have learned from it. He would leave behind 2 sons and 3 daughters.
Jeez Louise.
Where it would seem as though, even though his life was cut short, that he made an impact in a very positive way to those around him. He was a very doting father.
Was he married?
I don't think so, because they don't mention a wife unless she keeled over too.
I'm just curious, was he a not to be a piece of shit here? Don't judge me. I don't actually, you know what? I don't care. I'm curious, is he a married man with 5 kids with his wife, or is he a single man with a bunch of baby mamas?
Andrea, I didn't dig that far in to find out.
I'm saying for me, that changes the level of what kind of human being he is. I realize you don't have the answer to that. I wouldn't expect you to. I'm just saying it changes in my brain hole if he's married with a bunch of kids versus Nick Canning
Ew.
repopulating the earth.
I did send you a picture in the email of Tinky if you wanted to see a picture of Tinky. But I thought that whole thing was a little wild. But when I read that the mom just kept cranking out kids to be taken from her,
that's so sad. He's cute.
I know. I was just like, poor little Tinky.
I'm going to say that was his nickname. Stinky. Are you Tinky? Mainly because all mine couldn't pronounce their S's when they were little.
Oh, yeah.
And Tinky.
I didn't think of that one.
Yeah. Aw. Poor baby.
But I felt real bad for Tinky.
Man, I hate our judicial system. I absolutely hate it. You can get a good lawyer that can manipulate the shit out of it for some criminals. And then you've got people that are truly innocent but can't afford that good attorney, and the book is thrown at them. But here you are, you've got her, for sure, belong behind bars. I don't even know how she deserved to be acquitted. I think it's disgusting. I think if your kid dies and you are in any way, shape, or form responsible for it, you should be sterilized.
So I think because he really had nobody who was upset. Like, they brought a mom to trial, but I feel like the jury, I feel like the whole thing was like, just like the dad to Tinky wasn't
distraught.
Like his thought was, she's got to live her entire life knowing her boy is dead because she didn't watch him. So that's her charge already. But I was just doing the whole, again, she never watched him. Everybody else at this party saw him doing stuff. So if she even looked at him for a few minutes, she would have seen he was up to no good and they should have gone their own way. But I don't understand why they're out partying and doing all that with a 2 and a 5-year-old anyway. And she wants to blame Tinky's death on Rashad growing up to be a piece of shit. No, how about the fact that you're a horrible ass role model?
Yeah. Ugh. I do not like these kind of cases. And
I know. That's why when I was typing it up, I was like,
you're a sick son of a bitch, Claire. Highly disappointed in you and the judicial system. You know what it is? It's the prosecutor. Was it the same one on that?
Yeah. But they failed to really stick the charges to Patricia. But I feel like for Tony, he did manage to he behaved himself afterwards. So they were spot on with if they would have thrown him in jail and he would have done 20 years and got out kind of thing, it would have just turned him into a criminal. And really, he was just a dumbass 20-something-year-old that gave a kid liquor, which, think about your adult children, they wouldn't realize that, that what they were doing could kill him. I would think that they would just think he'd get vomity drunk, or that there'd be the funny side of it. They don't seem to understand that you could kill that little boy with booze.
It's called consequences.
Well, I understand that, but would you honestly be surprised?
I think I'm just not a nice person. Because, you know what? If my older ones fed liquor to my youngest and he died, yeah, haul him off. I don't want to look at him. You want to be that level of stupid? Go ahead. You deserve what you get.
Yeah.
It's just pure ignorance. And now there's a dead kid, a little tiny crack or coke baby, and another kid that grows up with having neither one of its parents able to get their shit together to take care of it, whether it be a different baby daddy or that Raymond is his father, whatever. It sounds like this whole family needed to go on Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Well, the way she cranked out kids super fast, I wouldn't be surprised if she was a prostitute for a bit. Because it's just like, man, she was like, just the second she was back out, like she's just churning one out to replace the other.
It's disgusting.
It was. Her junk's a clown car. Just like, here's another.
Ew.
But that's all I got for that.
Disgusting. That was disgusting. I will never hear circus music again and think of anything other than some woman's vagina just squirting out clown children.
You're welcome. Well, she did. Rachel got taken away, and then she just pops out another one.
So you said it was the same prosecutor for both cases?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say that prosecutor just sucks, because you're telling me not a single party goer was like, yeah, I specifically went and told her that her, or could, like, they couldn't get one eyewitness to say.
Nope. They said they saw him, but it was like they didn't think to say anything because, like I said, that it just somebody sipping.
What kind of castle-ass mansion were these pieces of shit partying in that this mother was completely unaware of the fact that her child was getting shit-faced?
Maybe it's not a castle. Maybe she's in the bathroom running the glory hole. I don't know, but I thought it was weird that everybody else saw all these things and everybody else heard him tell him to drink like a man, except for his mother. Where was she other than on her back?
But that's what I'm saying. The prosecutor must have just really sucked at his job, or her job, that they couldn't get one. She didn't do any jail time. She paid $1,000.
I know.
That's it. It's stupid.
Right? I agree.
I'd be curious to see what else. You know what it is? We need to look into that prosecutor. See what other cases they've fucked up on.
He was diddling her.
Ew. I wasn't saying all that. I was just saying that they don't know how to do their job.
We went different directions with that then.
Sure did. My brain don't go to the prostitution, but good to know where yours goes.
Well, that's all I got.
All right. Thanks for that, asshole.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Homicide Hobbies. If we made you laugh, if we made you cry, or if we mind-fucked you for the day, then we thank you for listening. Please write a review on whatever you're listening to us on. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers. We're freaking awesome. And join us next week for another episode of Homicide Hobbies. I'm Andy.
And I'm Claire.
That's all we've got.